to speak out a little bit more, to be more of a face of the game. We've talked about that when we talked about Major League Baseball not necessarily having stars, and Mike Trout maybe should be the face of the game. I wonder if this is what they had in mind. Mike Trout on Twitter regarding the MLB lockout. I want to play. I love our game, but I know we need to get this CBA right. Instead of bargaining in good faith, MLB locked us out. Instead of negotiating a fair deal, Rob canceled games. Players stand together. For our game, for our fans, and for every player who comes after us, we owe it to the next generation. Think that's what Major League Baseball had in mind when they said they wanted more for Mike Trout?
No.
Oops.
I want you to be more vocal. No, not like that. Is what it is.
We talked early on in this process about the fact that for whatever reason, it seems that fans end up siding with the owners. Do you guys feel like the media has shaped the narrative this time around with the lockout? Because I feel like the media has very much been on the players' side in their coverage of the lockout and this situation that we're dealing with. Is that going to last? Or are fans going to put pressure on the players and say, if you just agree to what they say, we could be playing games right now? Or this time, are fans going to stick by the players' side and say, you know what, you're doing the right thing?
I mean, there's a lot of billionaire fatigue in this country right now. There's a lot of it, not just outside of baseball. So I think the players have the public's backing so far. Now, could it change? I mean, that would require the owners to make like real reasonable concessions and put out there like, look, we came around and we gave you all this and it's still not good enough. Then maybe it changes. But right now, no, I don't think that's going to change.
It is fascinating though, right? Because, for example, I am a big basketball fan. As you guys tell me on the text line all the time, I'm the only person in this state that cares about the NBA. It's not true, but that's what you tell me.
Two people on this show care.
If this exact scenario happened to my team in the NBA, I don't think I would just be on side of player. Because in baseball, for example, they are afforded luxuries, the players are, that NFL players don't have and that NBA players don't have. There's no salary cap. You can spend, now there's also a negative to it because you can spend as little as you want, relatively speaking, but the Yankees can spend $100 million a year on payroll. You can get a $400 million every cent of it guaranteed contract in baseball. It's nice. It's pretty sweet luxury. And despite the owners being evil billionaires, they did offer a pretty significant raise. What was it, 20%? They offered more money.
Come out for the rookie minimum?
Yeah. So they offered a significant raise, one that the average person doesn't get on an annual basis. Most of us around here aren't, in life, are making less money today than we did pre-COVID. A lot of people are. So when you sit back and you're months into this lockout where the players are refusing and saying no to all these things, but then you look at what the owners are offering, and maybe it's not enough, but okay, guys, you're getting a 20% raise, you're getting more money, you're getting more luxury tax. No, it's not exactly what you wanted, but you're getting more. And me, average Joe over here, I'm not getting more. So what are you complaining about? Go do your job. I think the mood will shift. Because if this happened in basketball and NBA owners offered the players a 20% raise and they go months into what was supposed to be the season and they don't accept that, I would lose the ability to feel sorry for them. I wouldn't care because 20% raise sounds pretty darn good, doesn't it? I feel like everybody listening to this would appreciate that kind of a pay increase. And it's not that simple, I understand it, but I would lose the ability to have sympathy for the players when they're getting offered more and they repeatedly denied more when I don't and everybody doesn't get offered more like they have.
Isn't the root of what the players are asking for? And I mean, you can get lost in luxury tax thresholds and, lottery draft guarantees and all of the other stuff that goes into this. But at its core, aren't the players saying baseball is healthier financially than it has ever been? Owners are making more money than they have ever made. They are making more money on the backs of the product that we provide on the field. It is not unreasonable for us to share in the growth of the economics of the game. I mean, at the core, that's what players are asking for. And that doesn't strike me as completely unreasonable, especially when you have evidence over the last couple of years of owners kind of working together to tamp down the free agent market for not being willing to spend money that has been earned, if you will, by players in their next round of contracts. And while yes, I mean the luxury tax threshold is $210 million, and while there's not a salary cap, there is a significant penalty for going over that luxury tax number, and it increases for every year that you're over the tax. So yeah, there's a $210 million payroll threshold that if you go over that, you have to pay a penalty on it. And as an owner, you got to decide whether or not that's just the cost of doing business or you're not willing to go down that road. But, Borky, when you talk about the $400 million contract, and those exist, and they are, I mean, that's good work if you can get it. There aren't all that many of those.
No.
You got a whole lot more of the guys that are at the bottom end of the pay spectrum. I kind of respect, though, the guys, a Max Scherzer, a Mike Trout saying, we're going to get ours regardless of the system. But we're doing this for the guys that are coming into the game and trying to help them get to a spot where they can make good money.
Yeah. And that's what makes this so complex and why I still have yet to decide how I really feel about it because, to your point, there is no revenue sharing in baseball. None. Revenue can go up and it doesn't matter. In the NFL, what is it, 48.5%? I think it's 48.5% has to go to players. 48.5% of revenue has to go to players. That means salary caps continue to go up. Players make more money. Has to. In the NBA, it's an even 50-50 split. So if the league makes more money next year, guess what? The players have to make more money. They have to. It is written into the CBA. And maybe it's the baseball players' fault that they don't have a similar system because you could, I guess, call for that in negotiations, but that's part of why, I hear where they're coming from there. Because revenues are going up and salaries are not. But NFL revenues go up, salaries go up. It's a direct correlation. Same thing in the NBA. Not for them.
Tim says nobody's worth $300 to $400 million, et cetera, to play a sport. And by the way, I mean, that's if you get a $400 million contract, it's probably spread out over 10 years. You could still make the argument that nobody's worth $40 million to play a sport. Unless the market dictates that you are worth $40 million to play that sport. But Tim, I would turn around and ask that question, well, should an owner be allowed to make $100 million in profit in a year? Or $25 million or $50 million in profit or $200 million in profit if they've got a great team in a big market? I mean, doesn't that go both directions? The market dictates what everybody makes. I don't know. I mean,
It's
a complicated issue.
And no, I don't think any athlete is quote unquote worth like Patrick Mahomes is $500,000. But I promise you, the Chiefs get a return on that investment 10 times over during his career.
$500 million.
$500 million, yes. they get a return on that investment. Without Patrick Mahomes, they won't make as much money. It's kind of simple business.
Yeah. Somebody says, I sure would like a 5-year career at league minimum. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I get that.
Learn how to hit a slider.
Yeah, get better at baseball.